Hey everyone, welcome back to Maine Tiny Homestead. There's a lot going on this week, so much to tell you about. I can't wait to show you how much everything has grown and what I really need to do now that it's mid-season. We're at the end of July and a lot of things need to be cut down and taken care of so that we have room for the fall garden to plant. Let's get started. Well, things are a little bit different since last time we checked. I have a couple new experiments going on and everything has grown a ton. So here out front we have our onions that I have in the buckets. These are green beans. These are just starting to have flowers on them, so those look good. Here's the lemon balm. I had to tie this up. This has got a kind of a rope on it because it was really spreading out and blocking everything. This is my asparagus. Look how tall that got. That's year one asparagus, so I have to wait 2 more years before I can eat that, but it's going to be great in that spot. Here's my chives. It's the gift that keeps on giving, chives. I let all of this go to flower head and to seed, and then I harvested the seeds. And now if you cut down the stalks, they just keep growing, and then you just use them fresh all year in the garden. Oh, check this out. I forgot I had this out here. This is a sweet potato that I'm kind of rooting, and I'm just leaving it outside because I'm going to be ripping that off soon and stick it in another bucket. I'll show you that one in a minute. But you might hear the crunchies. Here's one of my experiments. I have paper bags that I'm trying to block the grass from growing. So that's kind of the goal of this. We have to weed whack this all the time, and it's really a pain. And I can't do weed whacking myself, so it's even more of a pain. I need my husband's help. I don't like that. So I'm trying this to see if this kills everything, and then I'm going to put bark mulch down. So we'll see how that works out, and I'll let you know. Let's come on over here. Now a lot more sun getting in over here. Cut down this side of the chamomile already, both of them, and then this one's growing back, and that needs to be cut again today. This is just about spent, but what I'm going to do is really cut it almost down to the ground, like 4 or 5 inches from the ground, and see if it has anything left in it. And if it does, great, and if it doesn't, that's okay, because we got a real huge harvest of chamomile flowers this year. Here's the oregano. I got this one here, so, oh, it snuck out the side. Oh, I got one that snuck out. So I'm trying to have these grow up tall so they don't touch the ground, because if this was on the ground right now, this would all have roots on it. But since it's up here, it doesn't have roots, which is really what we're trying to do as this experiment. Now this one had a bunch on it that I just trimmed back and cut, and so I'm waiting to see how that bounces back. And then here's the basil. Man, this stuff is just crazy. I've already harvested this one 2 or 3 times, going way down here. As you can tell, I went way down and this grew up again. So I'm on my 3rd time to harvest this. I'll probably do that again this week. Then these I haven't kept up on like I should have, but this is with the purple flowers on it. This one is more of a licorice basil. I don't know the technical name of it, but yep, smells like licorice to me. And then this one is so surprising. This one is lemon basil. Wow, it is so lemony. It's almost more lemony than the lemon balm, which is crazy. So if you like a lemon flavored salad dressing, having some dried lemon basil with lemon balm as your herb base might be pretty delicious. So what I'm doing with some of this, I'm harvesting and drying some of this basil, and then I am going to put some in olive oil and freeze it for cooking. Now over here, you can barely see my onions anymore because they're kind of overtaken with all these other plants here. But they're still growing in there. Now all of these that you see are ones that had fallen over. So when they grow long and then they bend, I just trim it underneath the bend so it doesn't have the energy going to that wounded part of the plant. It just gives the energy back to the bulb. And then I have green beans growing in here. The peas died off. It was just too hot in here and started them too late in the season. So lesson learned on those. Those will have to really, they have to start in spring. I can't wait till end of June to get those going. I only got 3 peas. 3 pea pods, so that was funny. But so the beans are doing okay though. I get a lot of blooms on them, and when I go over to the other side, I'll show you there's a lot of little ones over there. And then again, these morning glories are crazy. Look how far up it is now. So I had to put a rope on it because it was twisting itself at the very top and just going nowhere. So I'm gonna have it go across the top of this arbor and then have the other side grow up and meet it. So we'll see how that goes. I think I have way too many planted in here for this size of a bed. So I might have to pull some of them out because they're really ginormous now. I probably only needed 1 or 2, not the whole seed packet like I did. Oh, too funny. Okay, so let's walk over here. I have my other bags started over here. But here's my sunflower. This was in a bucket 2 weeks ago, and we planted it in the ground. What I did is I dug a huge hole, amended the soil, put some peat moss and vermiculite in it with some organic food, and planted it in there. And then we staked it well, and it's really loving being there. So I think it's gonna do good. Except, of course, as you can see, if we look at the leaves here, yeah, we have a problem with the Japanese beetles on the sunflower. Although it could be the other culprit as well, which is grasshoppers. We have a really big problem with grasshoppers. You might notice I have my blueberry hoops way at the back of the bed over there against the fence. It's not because we picked all the blueberries. No, it's because we had grasshoppers inside my blueberry netting, and they were eating all the blueberries. Check this out. Look what they did, if you can see. The bites that it took. Yep. It ate 12 of them in one day. Now the reason I do know for sure it was a grasshopper, because stupidly I saw it and didn't kill the grasshopper, I just knocked it off. Well, that night it taught me a lesson, and it ate every ripe blueberry we had in here. It took a bite. So all it was doing is taking a bite. If you can see it there. Oops, sorry, I had an ant crawling on me. Yeah, so I really got aggravated and I had to rip down all the hoops. And I only have 2 plants that are producing the blueberries right now. So what I decided to do was just wrap each plant from the base, make it very difficult for them to get in there and climb up, and then hope for the best. And because it's a big netting, I don't want to cut it in case I need to use it next year. But if you can see down here, there's a lot of all the black netting that you can see. It's just wrapped around real tight. But the bad thing with this little fix is that it's very difficult to get the blueberries out once they ripen. They are bigger than the size of the netting. And again, I don't want to cut the netting, so I have to undo it down there and get my hand in there. So a lot of lessons learned with this blueberry patch. I also don't like this straw that we put down, although I think it helped with the moisture issues. This particular brand sprouted, as you can see here. I picked most of them out, but every day there's new sprouts. And if I don't get to them for a couple of days, then there's quite a few. So that's been a problem as well. Luckily, I didn't use it in too many spots. But we have it all over one other part of our garden. And then these flowers out front, we just planted in there. Those are just pollinators. You know, I just wanted to have extra flowers growing so that when some of my stuff is out of bloom, I still have a reason for bees and pollinators to come back to the yard so that they're used to being in the yard all the time. And as you can see, there's little babies on there right now. But yeah, this attracts a lot of bees. And then these are just starting to bloom. And I have some more over here on this side. I won't put them in here next year. I'm going to dig up a side of the garden near the fence for the wildflowers. But let's check out the crazy bed. Okay. So check out the garlic. Yeah, it looks half dead, doesn't it? That's because today's the picking day. You need to let the garlic dry out as best as you can, at least a week or so before you pick it. So I really haven't watered this that much, although there's water that it can draw from if it wants it. But in 2 weeks, these have really dried off. So I have the first 2 leaves are dead. That's what I'm going for. 1 dead. 2 dead, okay? And then these are still yellowing, but which is okay. You don't want the whole thing to die because then at that point it's probably the bulbs have shriveled up. So we'll be picking these later today and I'll show you how that goes. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to plant in this bed once I pull those out because I have this row of onions in here that hopefully will take off once this garlic gets out of here, because they're really not doing as well as these over here. And these were all planted on the same day. So not getting as much sun in here in between all the garlics and not as much moisture. Look at the cherry tomatoes. Now it might look like I cut the whole tops off. Guess what? I had to, because these started leaning and falling. We had a really big summer rainstorm come through with some pretty heavy winds, and it pushed this whole tomato plants into itself and pushed it off to the left here. So I had to cut the tops off to force them from not growing any taller, because even when I stand inside the bed, they were starting to be over my head. So I don't want them over my head for me to be able to harvest them. So we had to just cut those tops off. So that's what we did there. So that's working actually great. But there's so much fruit on here. Let me just come in here and show you how awesome the fruit is. Look at over here, how many are on each one. I just love how the cherry tomatoes grow. Look at that whole lineup, all on one stem. And then that one in the back's ready to be picked. Pretty bright orange. So the one thing about this tomato plant, these two, they're indeterminate. So that means that the fruit ripens all season long and it doesn't ripen all at once if it was a determinate plant. So you're always out here looking for ripe fruit and picking it. So if you like to eat them all year round, this is the way to do it. Okay, look at I have potatoes over here and the eggplant. The eggplant has grown so much. The potatoes, you may remember I pushed over. I was trying a new technique where I would just push them down and make them go around the corner and get the sun that's outside of the bed. Because this is where they were coming up, and this is kind of short. And I'm forcing them to grow out tall that way. See where I have this white fence? I won't let them go inside that because that's the guarding for this one eggplant that I have. But you'll see how awesome this one eggplant is, and it's really all I need because the amount of fruit that's on this is crazy. Look at them all starting right there. This always has bees on it. Look at them down in there. Here's one of those tomatoes that I just plucked off and stuck in the ground. So we'll have a fall harvest. And let's go over this way. You can see we have the onions over here that seem to be okay. Not too fazed by the potatoes. But let's look at all the eggplants. See them all in there? There's at least 7 or 8 that are growing. And every day I see bees on here. So who knows how many more we'll get. Just stunning. But then I do have something in here eating the flower tops off these potatoes. Look at that. See how those stems, the flowers are gone? The tops are gone? Look at this is what they're supposed to look like. Like that, see? Oh, you can see they did it here too. Only one flower left and they ate all those stems off. So I think this is grasshoppers, because I really haven't seen any birds over here, but the grasshoppers are everywhere, which is one of the reasons that I'm trying to do this paper bag system to see if this works, because if I can kill the grass and put bark mulch in here, then the grass will never be tall and there won't be any grasshoppers that come inside here. There'll be no reason for them. So that's what I really got to work on next and try to do that. But what a wonderful walk through of the garden today. A lot of stuff left to do. Here's another little tomato that I pulled off and stuck in. Oh, might you see this one? This one's getting pretty big. I had to stake it already. Look at this one. See? Didn't even root it, just picked it off the other plant from a little sprout like this right here. See how this little one in between here? I let it grow to about, I don't know, 3 inches, and then I just stuck it in the ground here. And it rooted itself and it's growing. Here's our sweet potato experiment. Talk more about that one later. And then yet back to the garlic. So today is going to be garlic harvest day, and I'll show you how that's done. Thanks for watching Maine Tiny Homestead.